chandeliers inside the Winter Crown Gala sparkled like frozen stars, but Harper Lane felt none of their warmth. At 5 months pregnant, she moved carefully through the marble foyer, one hand resting on her belly, the other gripping the edge of her shawl as if it were the last thread holding her together. Cole Harrington, her billionaire husband, her once steady world, was supposed to be by her side tonight. Instead, he had vanished the moment they arrived, muttering something about urgent investor calls. People whispered politely as she passed, offering smiles too soft, too practiced. Harper knew what those looks meant: pity, concern, suspicion. She had worn these emotions on her skin for months, but tonight something felt different. Heavier, colder. She checked her phone again. No message, no call, just silence. And in that silence, she felt a familiar ache, the ache of being second place in her own marriage. She stepped onto the terrace, overlooking the Manhattan skyline. Wind whipped her hair across her face. Below, Fifth Avenue glimmered with holiday lights, the city alive and indifferent. Harper closed her eyes for a moment, trying to steady her breath. Sometimes, she whispered softly to herself, silence is the first warning that love has already left. When she turned to go back inside, she overheard 2 donors whispering near the doorway. He left with her again, didn't he? 3rd time this month. Poor Harper, and she's pregnant. A chill shot through her, not from the winter air, but from the confirmation she never wanted. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears. Then her phone buzzed. A hotel invoice. The Four Seasons. 1 room, 2 guests. One of them, Cole Harrington. Harper froze, her fingers trembling as she opened the attachment. A timestamp from just an hour ago, a charge for champagne and room service for 2. Her vision blurred. Somewhere inside the ballroom, the orchestra swelled, couples twirled, and champagne flowed like gold. But on the terrace, Harper Lane finally understood. Tonight wasn't just another gala. It was the night her marriage cracked open. And what she would do next, no one, not even Cole, would see coming. Harper Lane had always been the kind of woman people described as steady. Steady in her voice, steady in her kindness, steady in the way she placed others' needs before her own. At 30 years old, she should have been in the brightest chapter of her life, married to a billionaire tech visionary, living in a penthouse overlooking Central Park, preparing for the arrival of her 2nd child. From the outside, it all looked perfect. A life polished enough to belong on a magazine cover. But perfection, she'd learned, was often just a thin coat of paint hiding the cracks beneath. Before marrying Cole Harrington, Harper had built a promising career as an interior designer. She had a gift for turning cold spaces into homes, for seeing warmth where others saw walls. Maybe that was why she fell for Cole. She saw the good that could be, not the flaws that already were. He was magnetic, brilliant, confident in ways she never allowed herself to be. He chose her when she still lived in a tiny apartment, juggling design projects and part-time shifts at a boutique store. Back then, he made her believe she was extraordinary. But marriage, wealth, and expectations had a way of erasing a woman piece by piece. Harper was no exception. When Liam, their first child, was born with severe asthma, Harper stopped working. Cole said it was temporary, said she should focus on being a good mother. Over time, temporary became permanent, and good mother became only mother. Still, she tried. She cared for Liam through sleepless nights, managed the household, hosted Cole's business dinners, stayed graceful under pressure. 5 months into her 2nd pregnancy, she was exhausted but hopeful, hoping Cole would show up, hoping he'd remember the man she married, hoping he would still choose her. But deep inside, a quieter truth was growing. Sometimes the strongest women are the ones no one notices breaking. And Harper was breaking. The loneliness, the disappearances, the unexplained expenses, the perfume that wasn't hers. She ignored it for months because she believed families were built by holding on, not letting go. Even now, standing in that gilded ballroom, she clung to that belief with trembling fingers. But earlier that evening, before the hotel invoice arrived, something had already shifted inside her. Liam had whispered, "Mommy, will Daddy come tonight?" She didn't know how to answer. She only kissed his forehead and said, "We're okay, sweetheart. We always will be." And in that moment, Harper realized, even if Cole chose someone else, she would still choose her children and choose herself. Her life was no longer about what she could hold on to. It was about what she would rise from. New York had a way of swallowing people whole, especially those who didn't know they were being eaten alive. From the glossy streets of Fifth Avenue to the towering glass giants along Park Avenue, the city glittered in a way that made even heartbreak look expensive. And for Harper Lane, Manhattan had become both a sanctuary and a battlefield. Her life with Cole Harrington unfolded inside their penthouse overlooking Central Park, a place so immaculate it barely felt lived in. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the skyline like a painting, capturing sunsets that bled gold onto polished marble floors. The furniture pieces she once designed with pride now felt like relics of a love story she wasn't sure ever truly belonged to her. The kitchen held European appliances she rarely used, because most nights she ate alone. In the hallway, Liam's inhaler sat beside a row of untouched luxury perfumes Cole had given her. The kind meant to disguise a distant marriage rather than celebrate it. And then there was Cole's world. The Park Tower headquarters, a 60-story monument of steel and ambition. Boardrooms with glass walls, custom Mont Blanc pens, men in tailored suits discussing million-dollar decisions with the emotional detachment of machines. Cole thrived there. In that world, he was powerful, admired, untouchable. And the deeper he sank into that empire, the more he drifted from the woman waiting at home. Money can build walls higher than any skyscraper, Harper often thought. And the saddest part is realizing the person on the other side is your own husband. The settings of her life had split into two separate universes. The penthouse, where she tiptoed around a marriage full of cracks. The corporate world, where Cole lost himself in an ego too big for any home. And the gala circuit, where appearances mattered more than vows. The Winter Crown Gala, held at the historic Astoria Grand, was another symbol of that divide. Crystal chandeliers, velvet drapes, champagne fountains, every detail screamed luxury. But beneath it all simmered tension, secrets, and eyes that watched too closely. It was the perfect place for a public marriage, and an even more perfect place for a private betrayal. As Harper stood among Manhattan's elite, surrounded by jewels, orchestras, and curated smiles, she felt more alone than she ever had in her life. Because luxury didn't make a woman feel valued. Presence did, and Cole's absence echoed louder than the music. Harper didn't know it yet, but the very city that once made her feel small was about to become the stage for her rise. Cole Harrington was the kind of man newspapers loved and wives feared. Brilliant, charming, and dangerously ambitious, he built his billion-dollar empire with the same ruthless precision he later used to dismantle his marriage. At 38, he had the polished look of someone born for power-tailored suits, perfect posture, and a smile sharp enough to cut through any room he entered. To the outside world, Cole was a prodigy, the visionary behind Harrington Dynamics, a tech conglomerate that reshaped AI security. Investors adored him, journalists admired him, men wanted to be him, and women, well, Cole made sure they wanted him too. But underneath the polished exterior was a man made of shifting sand, unstable, easily threatened, and addicted to admiration like a drug. What Harper once saw as confidence was now something darker, a hunger to be praised even if it meant betraying the people who loved him most. Cole believed rules didn't apply to him, not moral rules, not marital vows, not boundaries. Especially not when it came to Jenna Reeves, the 6-year-old events coordinator who smiled too brightly at his jokes and leaned in too close during business dinners. She wasn't just a fling, she was the mirror that reflected the version of himself he wanted to believe in. Young, desirable, unstoppable. And Cole chased that illusion with reckless abandon. What made him truly dangerous wasn't the affair, it was the entitlement behind it. He thought Harper would never leave, thought she needed him too much, needed the penthouse, the lifestyle, the stability. He mistook her kindness for weakness, her loyalty for ignorance. He didn't know her strength yet. Cole had a talent for rewriting reality. When Harper expressed loneliness, he called her dramatic. When she asked questions, he accused her of being ungrateful. When she cried over his constant absence, he told her she was too emotional from the pregnancy. He made her doubt herself, made her feel small, made sure she depended on him while he drifted farther away. "It's all in your head," he'd say with a sigh, already reaching for his phone to check the next message from Jenna. And the worst part? He genuinely believed he deserved both women, the devoted wife and the thrilling mistress. Cole Harrington wasn't just a cheater. He was a man who thought consequences were for other people. But soon, very soon, he would learn the one truth he never saw coming. Every empire has a weak point, and his was the woman he underestimated. The moment Harper stepped back into the ballroom, the air shifted. Not because of her, but because of the scene unfolding near the grand staircase, under the spill of golden chandelier light. A ripple of whispers spread through the crowd like wind through dry leaves. People weren't trying to hide their curiosity anymore. They weren't even pretending. Harper followed their stares, and then she saw him. Cole Harrington, her husband, the man who'd sworn always, stood on the staircase with Jenna Reeves clinging to his arm. Jenna wasn't dressed like an event coordinator tonight. She wore a red satin gown that left little to the imagination, her fingers tracing the lapel of Cole's tuxedo like she owned him. Like she was proud of it, like she wanted the world to know. Cole didn't push her away. He didn't step back. He didn't even look guilty. He was smiling. The orchestra's music felt like background noise to a nightmare. Harper's stomach tightened, her hand instinctively covering her pregnant belly as if shielding her child from the humiliation striking her straight in the chest. Her heart hammered so loudly she could barely hear her own breath. A donor beside her whispered, not quietly enough. "So that's her, the mistress. And his wife is here tonight? God, poor woman. Poor woman. Poor Harper. Poor wife." The words stung worse than the betrayal itself. When Jenna leaned in and whispered something into Cole's ear, he laughed a deep, easy laugh Harper hadn't heard in months. That laugh used to belong to her, to their home, to their son. Now it echoed across a ballroom full of strangers who watched her heartbreak like it was entertainment. Harper turned to leave before her tears betrayed her, but fate wasn't done twisting the knife. Jenna spotted her. Instead of shame, Jenna smirked, slow, deliberate, cruel. She tightened her hold on Cole's arm and pressed a kiss dangerously close to his jaw. A kiss meant to be seen. Cole froze for half a breath when he finally noticed Harper. Their eyes locked across the room. For a moment, just one, she saw a flicker of panic behind his polished confidence. But he didn't pull away. He didn't step toward her. He didn't say her name. He just stood there, letting the humiliation bloom in front of hundreds of people. And in that moment, Harper understood something with painful clarity. The man she had loved no longer existed, and the man standing with Jenna had never loved her back. The ballroom watched, the marriage ended, and Harper Lane's revenge, quiet, steady, unstoppable, began. Harper didn't remember how she got outside. One moment she was standing in the ballroom, drowning in whispered pity, and the next she was on the steps of the Astoria Grand, the cold winter air slicing through her gown like a blade. Her breath fogged in the night, uneven and shaky. Her hands trembled so violently she had to clutch the railing just to stay upright. Her world had not simply cracked, it had caved in, all at once, without warning. She stepped away from the entrance, ignoring the valet who called after her. Her heels clicked against the pavement as she walked toward a quiet corner of the courtyard. And there, under the shadow of a marble archway, she finally let herself break. Tears spilled fast and hot, blurring the glow of the street lamps and the stream of black cars lining up at the curb. Her sobs came out in ragged gasps, deep, painful, uncontrollable. She pressed both hands over her stomach, protecting the tiny life growing inside her as if her heartache could somehow reach the baby. "I'm so sorry," she whispered to the child who didn't ask to feel this storm. "I'm so sorry." She felt foolish for believing Cole would change. Foolish for defending him to her friends. Foolish for explaining away every late night, every excuse, every perfume-scented shirt. Foolish for loving a man who didn't look back the moment she walked out that door. But above all, she felt alone. Terrifyingly, devastatingly alone. Her phone buzzed a message from her babysitter, checking on her ETA. Harper tried to answer, but her fingers wouldn't stop shaking long enough to type. The shame, the humiliation, the betrayal, everything weighed down on her all at once, pressing until she could barely stand. Maybe this is it, she thought bitterly. Maybe this is the moment some women don't recover from. She leaned against the stone column, her breathing uneven. Cars honked in the distance, laughter spilled from the gala entrance, and somewhere inside Cole was still smiling, still living his fantasy, still pretending nothing was wrong. But the world kept moving even when hers stopped. A gust of wind rushed past, carrying the faint smell of pine from Central Park. Harper closed her eyes, letting the cold sting her skin. It grounded her, reminded her she was still here, still breathing, still fighting for something bigger than heartbreak. And somewhere deep in that collapse, beneath the tears and the shaking and the shattering, Harper felt the quiet spark of something she hadn't felt in months. Resolve. She didn't know how she would rise. She only knew she would. Harper wiped her tears with the back of her trembling hand, forcing herself to breathe. She had to pull it together long enough to get home to Liam. But as she turned toward the waiting line of cars, a voice called out softly from behind her. "Mrs. Harrington?" Wait. She turned to find Marcus, the head of security from the Four Seasons Hotel, still in uniform, still slightly breathless, as if he had run to catch her. Harper blinked in confusion. She hadn't seen him since the night Cole claimed he'd been meeting with partners. Why was he here? Marcus glanced over his shoulder, lowering his voice. "I wasn't sure if I should do this, but I've been working at the hotel for 15 years. I've seen a lot of things. And what your husband is doing," he shook his head, "it isn't right." Harper's heart pounded painfully. "Marcus, what are you talking about?" He reached into his coat and handed her a small flash drive. "I shouldn't be giving this to you," he whispered, "but I have a sister who went through something similar. I know the look you had that night, the look of a woman being lied to." Harper stared at the flash drive, cold metal warming in her palm. "What's on this?" she asked, voice barely audible. Marcus hesitated. Footage, documents, records of every check-in Cole made under a false name. Every night he booked the suite. And his jaw tightened. Every time he brought her, the world stopped. Her breath caught. Her vision blurred again, but not from tears. From shock? "You kept all of this?" she whispered. "I kept it," Marcus said, "because someone needed the truth, and because I knew this day would come." Harper clutched the flash drive to her chest. Just minutes ago, she'd felt powerless, small, crushed. Now she held proof, undeniable, devastating proof of everything Cole had tried to hide. But the twist wasn't over. Marcus reached into his coat again and pulled out a folded paper. "And this, I thought you should see too." Harper unfolded it with shaking hands. It was a copy of Cole's request to transfer assets, multiple properties, accounts, and investments into a private shell corporation. One registered under Jenna Reeves' name. Cole wasn't just cheating. He was preparing to replace her entirely. The betrayal burned through her like fire. But beneath the hurt rose something stronger. Clarity. This wasn't the end. This was the evidence she needed to start fighting back. Harper looked up at Marcus, voice steady for the first time all night. "Thank you," she said. "You have no idea how much this changes." And indeed, no one, not even Cole Harrington, was prepared for what Harper Lane would do next. Harper didn't sleep that night, not because of anxiety. She'd had plenty of sleepless nights before, but because something had shifted inside her. The kind of shift that happens when a woman finally reaches the point of no return, when heartbreak turns into fuel, when silence turns into strategy. By sunrise, the snow outside the penthouse windows glowed pale gold. Harper stood at the mirror in the guest room where she'd slept with Liam curled beside her. Her eyes were swollen, her hair tangled, her shoulders slumped from hours of crying. She looked like a woman who had been broken, but she felt like a woman being rebuilt. She splashed cold water on her face, drew a slow breath, and whispered to her reflection, "You're done choosing pain." Her first call was to her lawyer. Her second to a women's financial advocate she'd once met at a charity event. Her third to a realtor. If Cole wanted to replace her, he could do it alone. She would not crumble quietly in the shadows while he played house with someone half her age. After dropping Liam at preschool, she walked into a boutique on Madison Avenue, not for luxury, not for revenge, but for armor. She chose a charcoal maternity dress that framed her bump with elegance, a soft coat that wrapped around her like a shield, and low heels she could stand tall in without fear of falling. It wasn't about looking beautiful. It was about looking unbreakable. As she paid, the stylist said gently, "Big day ahead?" Harper smiled, not weakly, not sadly, but with something new. "Big life ahead," she replied. She headed straight to the Park Tower headquarters. Cole expected the same timid wife he'd conditioned for years. The woman who whispered, the woman who waited, the woman who forgave. But the lobby receptionist barely recognized her. Harper's posture was different, shoulders squared, chin lifted, eyes sharp with purpose. People turned to look not because she was Cole's wife, but because she carried herself like someone who finally remembered her worth. When the elevator doors opened to the executive floor, her heart pounded, but with adrenaline, not fear. She walked into Cole's office without knocking. Cole looked up, startled. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words died when he saw the envelope in her hand. The divorce papers, the flash drive, the asset transfer document. Harper laid each item on his desk, one by one, like evidence in a trial. Then she said the words he never thought he'd hear. "I'm done. You don't get to break me twice." Cole blanched. For the first time, he was the one who looked small. And Harper Lane walked out stronger than she had ever been in her life. The following Friday, New York's elite gathered at the Helmsworth Innovation Summit, an event Cole Harrington had been bragging about for months. It was supposed to be his victory lap, the night he announced a multi-million-dollar partnership and cemented his legacy as the unstoppable golden boy of tech. Instead, it became the night everything he built began to crack. Harper didn't plan to attend. She had every reason to stay home pregnant, exhausted, emotionally bruised. But when the board of Harrington Dynamics personally invited her, she understood their intentions. They weren't being kind. They were suspicious. And Harper carried the truth they desperately needed. She arrived in a sleek black dress, simple yet commanding, the kind that didn't scream for attention but demanded it anyway. Conversations paused as she walked through the entrance hall. People whispered her name, the wife they had pitied at the gala, the woman they thought would disappear quietly. But Harper Lane did not disappear. She rose. At the center of the ballroom, Cole stood on stage, shaking hands with investors. Jenna hovered proudly beside him like a trophy. Cameras flashed. Every photo painted the perfect picture of a man in control. Until he saw Harper. The microphone nearly slipped from his hand. Jenna stiffened, her smile collapsing, her fingers curling around Cole's arm like talons. Harper stepped forward, steady and unflinching. She didn't need a microphone. The silence in the room carried her voice perfectly. "I won't keep you," she said softly, placing an envelope on the podium. "I just thought the board should have the complete financial picture before approving any major partnership." The room buzzed with confusion until the CFO opened the envelope. Inside, the flash drive containing footage of Cole's secret hotel stays, records of unauthorized transfers to Jenna, proof of funds moved into shell accounts without board approval, a timeline showing he'd used company money to finance his affair. A board member's face drained of color. Jenna choked on a gasp. Cole whispered, "Harper, what have you done?" She met his eyes, calm and devastating. "What you taught me, Cole. You said I was too emotional to understand business." She smiled faintly. "Turns out, I understand consequences." Security was called not for Harper, but for Cole. The board demanded he step away for an immediate audit. Investors backed away like he was contagious. Jenna tried to slip out unseen, but cameras caught everything. Harper stood there, graceful and composed, as Cole's empire trembled under the weight of truth. And for the first time, the city saw her not as a betrayed wife, but as the woman who brought a billionaire to his knees. Cole Harrington had always believed he was untouchable, an empire in human form, a man whose charisma could bend any boardroom and charm any audience. But the night of the summit changed everything. And now, just 24 hours later, he looked nothing like the polished king of tech who once strutted across stages like they belonged to him. He sat alone in his penthouse office, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows that once made him feel powerful. Tonight, the skyline mocked him. The city he ruled over no longer bowed. It watched cold, distant, indifferent as he crumbled. His phone vibrated constantly. Board members, investors, attorneys, none of them with comfort. All of them with demands, warnings, ultimatums. He didn't answer. He couldn't. His hands shook as he replayed the moment Harper walked onto that stage pregnant, poised, unbreakable. The woman he had dismissed for years. The woman he believed would always stay small enough to fit into his shadow. He never imagined she'd be the one to drag his wrongdoing into the light. Jenna stormed around the room, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "This is your fault, Cole. You said no one would find out. You said the transfers were clean." But Cole barely heard her. His mind was spinning too fast, replaying too many miscalculations. Harper had known, for longer than he realized. She had been watching him unravel while he was too busy worshiping his own reflection. He whispered to himself, almost in disbelief, "She set me up." But deep down, he knew it wasn't a setup. It was a consequence. Jenna threw her purse at the wall. "Do something. Fix this." Cole looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the truth he'd refused to face. Jenna wasn't a partner. She wasn't even loyal. She was a spark to his ego, nothing more. And now, even she could see the fire burning down his world. "Get out," he muttered. "What?" Jenna snapped. "I said, get out." His voice cracked, not with anger, but desperation. "Just go. Everyone leaves anyway." The moment the door slammed, silence filled the room. Not peaceful silence, not gentle silence. The kind that echoes. The kind that exposes everything a man tried to bury. Cole sank back in his chair, pressing his palms into his eyes, as if darkness could erase the truth. For the first time in his life, he felt the weight of being ordinary, of losing, of being left behind by the very woman he thought he could break. Because the real downfall of a powerful man isn't losing his company. It's realizing the person he underestimated is the one he can't live without. The morning after the summit, Harper felt the exhaustion of a woman carrying two battles, one in her heart, one in her womb. She sat at the tiny kitchen nook of the temporary apartment she'd rented, Liam coloring beside her, the winter sun drifting weakly through the window. Her hands cradled a warm mug of chamomile tea, but her mind churned restlessly. The divorce. The baby. The public fallout. The mountain in front of her felt impossibly steep. Then came the knock. A soft, steady knock, one she somehow recognized before she even opened the door. Noah Caldwell. College friend, quiet genius, founder of Caldwell Capital, the man she once almost loved before life took them in different directions. And the man who, even now, had a way of standing like a safe harbor in a world full of storms. When Harper opened the door, Noah didn't speak right away. His eyes softened as they took in her tired face, her pregnant belly, the boxes stacked in the living room. His expression wasn't pity. It was something gentler, something steadier. "I heard what happened," he said finally. Of course he did. New York ran on gossip, and Cole Harrington's downfall was the freshest meal on the city's plate. Harper stepped aside to let him in. Noah crouched to greet Liam, offering him a sticker sheet shaped like rocket ships. Liam beamed, instantly charmed. Noah had always been good with children. Good with people, really. Except he never used that goodness to manipulate, only to support. Harper sank into the sofa as Noah sat across from her. "You don't have to check on me," she said softly. "I'm managing." Noah's gaze held hers, calm and unwavering. "I didn't come because you needed me. I came because you deserve to know you're not alone." The words settled into her chest like warmth she didn't realize she'd been starved for. "I saw the documents, Harper," he added gently. "Everything Cole did. You handled that summit with more grace than any CEO I've ever met. You protected your future, your children's future. That's strength, not survival." She blinked hard, throat tightening. It had been so long since someone spoke to her without condescension or doubt. Noah leaned forward slightly. "I want to help you build from this. Whatever you choose next, your career, your home, your stability, I'm here. Not to fix things for you, to stand with you while you fix them yourself." For the first time in days, Harper breathed in fully. Through the chaos, the heartbreak, the betrayal, here was someone who wasn't asking anything of her. Someone who didn't need her broken. Someone who believed she could rise, and that belief, she realized, might be the first brick in the life she was about to rebuild. While Harper was quietly rebuilding her life, Cole Harrington's world was breaking apart piece by piece, loudly, publicly, and without mercy. What began as whispers after the Innovation Summit became a full-blown corporate earthquake by the end of the week. Harrington Dynamics, the empire he worshipped more than his own marriage, was now under formal investigation. It started with the board freezing his executive access. His private elevator keycard stopped working. His company email was locked. Security escorted him out of the building he once bragged he owned with his brilliance. Employees watched from behind glass walls, whispering as he passed. Some pitied him, some didn't bother hiding their smirks. The mighty had fallen, and New York loved a dramatic fall. Cole demanded explanations, shouted about loyalty, threatened lawsuits, but the board was done protecting him. The documents Harper provided were too detailed, too damning, too undeniable. Unauthorized asset transfers, misuse of corporate funds, suspicious shell accounts under Jenna Reeves' name, hotel receipts dumped into client entertainment categories. For years, he thought he was untouchable, but now every arrogant decision stood stacked against him like evidence in a slow-burning trial. And then came the news that finally pierced his ego. Investors pulled out. All of them. The stock dropped 16% overnight. Reporters camped outside his penthouse. Jenna tried to stand by him until she realized the investigation now included her. The moment she heard the phrase, possible charges, she vanished from his life faster than she entered it. No goodbye. No explanation. Cole realized too late that she didn't love him. She loved the version of him who still had power. Now he had none. The media ripped him apart for days. Headlines screamed across every business site. Billionaire under fire for financial misconduct. Harrington Dynamics CEO removed pending investigation. Mistress linked to fraud company in crisis. Cole watched it all from the penthouse he once flaunted, now dim and hollow. Dishes piled in the sink, papers cluttered every surface. His reflection in the window looked older, defeated, terrified. He hadn't been alone like this in years. He didn't know how to survive without admiration. He didn't know who he was without power. But the worst blow came late one night when a reporter called out to him from the sidewalk below. "Cole, do you think your wife will forgive you now that you've lost everything?" The question hit harder than any headline. Forgive him? Harper wasn't coming back. She wasn't his safety net. She wasn't his anymore. For the first time, Cole felt the true weight of what he'd lost, not the company, not the money, but the woman who could have saved him if he hadn't broken her first. In the weeks following Cole's collapse, Harper Lane slowly learned what it meant to breathe again. Not the shallow, hesitant breaths she'd taken during her marriage, but full, steady ones, the kind that came from a woman reclaiming her life piece by fragile piece. Her temporary apartment was small, mismatched, and nowhere near the luxury penthouse she left behind. Yet it felt more like home than anything she had lived in for years. Liam's laughter filled the rooms. The baby kicked often. And for the first time, Harper woke up without the sinking dread of wondering where Cole was or who he was with. Instead, her mornings began with determination. With Noah's encouragement, she restarted her design career, this time not as a hobby she squeezed between motherhood and emotional battles, but as a full-fledged business. She set up a workspace at the dining table, ordered samples, sketched floor plans during nap times, and took meetings with her growing belly as her silent companion. Her first project was a tiny Brooklyn studio belonging to a young teacher. Harper transformed it into a haven of light and warmth. When the teacher saw the final reveal, she burst into tears and hugged Harper tightly. "That's exactly how I want people to feel," Harper whispered afterward. Safe, seen, home. Word spread quickly. Soon, she had 3 more clients, then 7, then 12. Each project became another brick in the foundation she was rebuilding. But Harper wasn't just designing spaces. She was designing a new version of herself. She joined prenatal yoga classes, learned budgeting on her own, attended legal meetings without flinching, and built friendships with women who understood resilience because they lived it. There were nights she still cried quietly, and mornings when fear crept in, but every time doubt whispered, she reminded herself, "You survived the worst. Now you get to build the best." Noah visited often, never overstepping, always supporting. He brought meals when she was too tired to cook, helped babysit Liam, and listened, really listened, when she talked through her plans. He treated her not as a victim, but as a capable woman writing her comeback story. One evening, as Harper tucked Liam into bed, he asked sleepily, "Mommy, are we happy now?" She brushed his hair gently. "Yes, sweetheart, we're getting there." And she meant it, because happiness wasn't some distant place she needed Cole to take her to. It was something she was learning to create on her own with her children, her work, her strength. Harper Lane was standing again. And soon, she would soar. While Harper was stitching her life back together, Jenna Reeves, the woman who helped destroy it, was unraveling in real time. The lavish lifestyle she'd imagined wasn't materializing. Cole's money was frozen, his credit cards flagged, and the future missus. Harrington fantasy she'd clung to was suddenly nothing more than an embarrassing delusion. And Jenna wasn't the type to suffer quietly. Late one evening, she stormed into a midtown cafe where her friend Marcy worked. Dressed in designer clothes she could no longer afford, Jenna slammed her phone on the counter. "Look at this," she shrieked. On her screen, a headline: Harrington Dynamics faces criminal review mistress under scrutiny. There it was, the word she hated most. Mistress. Not partner. Not girlfriend. Not future wife. Mistress. Jenna's panic turned quickly into rage. "This is all Cole's fault," she spat. "He said no one would ever find out. He said he'd protect me." Marcy raised an eyebrow. "Well, he can't even protect himself now." Jenna's eyes filled with tears, angry tears, not remorseful ones. But then came a twist no one saw coming. A reporter slipped into the cafe, recognized her instantly, and approached. "Miss Reeves, we have reason to believe you are aware of Cole Harrington's financial misconduct. We'd like your comment before the story runs." Jenna froze. Her throat tightened. She wasn't built for pressure, she was built for attention. And this was the wrong kind. I didn't know anything," she stammered. "Cole told me everything was legal. He lied to me. I was manipulated too." The reporter leaned in. "Are you willing to go on record saying that?" In a moment fueled by desperation, fear, and the instinct to save herself, Jenna nodded. "Yes, I'll talk. I'll tell everything." Within hours, breaking news flooded every major network. Jenna Reeves was cooperating with investigators, not protecting Cole, not hiding their affair, but testifying openly about his financial schemes. Harper saw the broadcast while folding Liam's laundry. She sat on the edge of the bed, stunned, then let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Noah, arriving minutes later, shook his head in disbelief. "She sold him out," he said. "Completely." Harper placed a hand on her belly as the baby kicked softly. "People like Jenna don't stay loyal when the spotlight turns cold," she murmured. Cole thought she was an upgrade, but he never understood she'd never love him more than she loved survival. It was almost poetic. The woman Cole destroyed his family for was now destroying him. And as dramatic as the betrayal was, Harper sensed this wasn't the final twist. No, this was only the tremor before the real quake. The morning sunlight streamed across Harper's small apartment as she sorted through fabric samples for her newest clients. Liam hummed softly while building towers out of wooden blocks, and the rhythmic sound brought a calm she hadn't felt in months. Her life was still imperfect, still chaotic, still balancing single motherhood and pregnancy, but it finally felt hers. Then her phone buzzed. Noah Caldwell calling. She smiled instinctively. Over the past weeks, Noah had become not just a friend, but a steady pillar in her uncertain world. She answered, expecting a casual check-in. "Harper," Noah said, a rare excitement in his voice. "I need you to come to my office, today." Her heart skipped. "Is something wrong?" "No," he chuckled. "For once, something is very, very right." When Harper arrived at Caldwell Capital's headquarters, sleek steel, warm lighting, art that actually felt lived in, she felt strangely at peace. Not intimidated, not out of place, almost at home. Noah greeted her with a portfolio folder in hand. "I've been thinking about your work," he began. "You turned a Brooklyn studio into a sanctuary, and you did it while raising Liam and carrying a child. That alone tells me you're not just talented, you're extraordinary." Harper felt her cheeks warm, unsure how to respond. Noah continued, "I'm renovating 3 floors of this building. Offices, break rooms, conference suites. I need someone with an eye for human-centered design." He placed the folder in her hands. "I want you to lead the project." Her breath caught. 3 floors, a corporate contract, a chance to rebuild her entire career in one bold step. "Noah," she glanced down at her belly. "I'm pregnant, and juggling so much already. What if I can't handle something this big?" Noah stepped closer, his voice steady. "Harper, you've handled more than most people ever will. You survived betrayal, rebuilt your life, and still show up with grace. This isn't too big for you. It's exactly your size." His confidence wrapped around her like a warm coat. "I'll adjust deadlines," he added. "Provide childcare support if you need it. Whatever it takes. I'm not giving you this job out of charity. I'm giving it to you because you're the best person for it." Liam tugged Harper's sleeve gently. "Mommy, you can make this place pretty. She laughed softly, tears forming. "I think I can, sweetheart." Then she turned to Noah, voice trembling but certain. "I'll do it." Noah's smile was warm and almost proud. "Then let's build something incredible." And just like that, Harper wasn't just rising. She was stepping into a future brighter than anything Cole had ever allowed her to imagine. Cole Harrington had tasted humiliation, but desperation was a new flavor, bitter, metallic, and impossible to swallow. With his company collapsing, investors abandoning him, and Jenna betraying him on national television, he finally realized the truth he had avoided for years. Harper was the only steady thing he ever had. And now she was gone. His nights became restless spirals of regret. He paced through the penthouse rooms that once symbolized power and now echoed with emptiness. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the constant ping of legal notifications and media alerts. He muted them all. None of it mattered compared to the one person who wasn't calling. Harper. The morning he saw her, photo online, pregnant, glowing, laughing beside Noah outside Caldwell Capitol, something snapped inside him. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Without him, Cole couldn't tolerate that reality. He showed up at her apartment unannounced. Harper opened the door halfway, surprise flickering across her face before she steadied herself. She no longer looked intimidated by him. She looked resolved. "Cole," she said calmly, "you shouldn't be here." He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "We need to talk, Harper. There's been so much confusion, so much stress. I wasn't myself." "You were exactly yourself," she replied. "That's the problem." Cole swallowed hard. "I miss you. I miss our family. Liam needs his father." "You're pregnant, Harper. We should be together for this." She flinched at the mention of the baby, but her voice stayed steady. "You had every chance to choose us. You didn't." Cole stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I can fix this. I can explain everything to the media. If we present a united front." She cut him off with a bitter laugh. "There it is. This isn't about family. It's about your image." "No," he snapped, then quickly softened. "No, it's about us. It's about what we built." "What I built," she corrected gently. "You were busy with someone else." Cole's jaw tightened. He reached out to touch her arm, but she stepped back. "Don't," she said firmly. "You don't get to touch me just because your life is falling apart." The words hit him harder than any headline. Harper inhaled deeply. "I'm not your backup plan, Cole. I'm not your safety net. And I'm certainly not your redemption arc." The door began to close. Cole's voice cracked. "Harper, please, don't do this. I need you." She met his eyes one last time. "You needed me before you lost everything. Not now, not like this." The door shut. For the first time in his life, Cole understood what real loss felt like. And Harper? She felt nothing but relief. The Winter Luminary Gala was the kind of event Harper once dreaded, another glittering tribute to wealth and ego. But this year, everything was different. She wasn't attending as Cole Harrington's wife. She wasn't attending out of obligation. She was there as Harper Lane, the rising designer behind Caldwell Capitol's stunning new renovation project, personally invited by the board and escorted by Noah. When Harper stepped out of the black SUV, camera flashes burst like fireworks. Her fitted emerald dress shimmered against her pregnant belly, her hair swept into soft waves. She didn't look like a woman who survived betrayal. She looked like a woman who won. Noah offered his arm. "Ready?" Harper inhaled deeply, more than ever. Inside, the ballroom buzzed with powerful CEOs, financiers, and socialites. But when Harper walked in, the hum quieted. People turned first out of curiosity, then admiration, then awe. This wasn't the humiliated woman from the Winter Crown Gala. This was her rebirth. But the moment of peace didn't last. Cole was there, standing near the champagne tower, looking thinner, paler, and very much like a man who'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. His suit hung loose. His eyes were hollow. And beside him, not Jenna, not anyone, just emptiness. The room shifted as he noticed Harper on Noah's arm, his face drained of color. He moved toward her with desperate urgency. "Harper?" Noah stepped in smoothly, voice calm but protective. "Don't make a scene, Cole." Cole's jaw clenched, but his eyes stayed on Harper. "You came here with him?" Harper didn't flinch. "I came here with someone who respects me." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Cole's voice cracked. "Can we talk privately?" "No," Harper said softly. "You lost the right to private conversations with me." The murmurs grew louder. But before Cole could respond, a board member from Harrington Dynamics approached the group. "Mrs. Lane," he said kindly, "we'd like to congratulate you on your new project. Caldwell Capital announced your design plans earlier today. Stunning work." Cole blinked. "What project?" Harper turned slightly, her expression serene. 3 floors of Caldwell Capital headquarters, fully credited to Harper Lane Designs. People applauded. Cameras snapped. Noah's hand rested lightly at Harper's back, supportive, steady. Cole looked around, chest rising and falling rapidly as humiliation spread across his face. "You're replacing me already," he whispered. "Just like that?" Harper met his gaze, not with cruelty, but truth. "I didn't replace you, Cole. I replaced the version of myself who tolerated you." The crowd gasped. Cole staggered back a step, wounded more by her strength than her words. Harper didn't linger. She turned toward Noah, her voice gentle. "Shall we?" And together, they walked deeper into the gala, leaving Cole in the same place he left her months ago. Alone, watching the life he squandered walk away without looking back. The lights in the ballroom dimmed as the host stepped onto the stage. "Tonight," he announced, "we honor innovators shaping the future of our city. And this year, one nominee surprised us all, not with wealth, but with resilience and vision." Harper felt the breath catch in her chest. "Please welcome," the host continued, "Harper Lane of Lane Designs." A wave of applause washed through the room. Harper froze for a moment, startled. She hadn't prepared a speech, she hadn't even known she was nominated. Noah squeezed her hand gently. "You deserve this," he whispered. "Go show them why." With her heart pounding, Harper walked toward the stage. Every step felt surreal. Weeks ago, she was crying on marble steps, betrayed, humiliated, broken. Tonight, she stood beneath chandeliers, as dazzling as the moment itself. She faced the crowd, power players, executives, reporters, and took a breath. "Thank you," she began, her voice soft but steady. "A year ago, I never imagined I'd be standing here. I was a stay-at-home mom who had forgotten her own dreams while trying to hold together a life that was quietly falling apart." The room stilled. Even the clink of champagne glasses faded. "I spent a long time believing that loyalty meant shrinking myself, that love meant endurance, and that being a good mother meant sacrificing every part of who I was." Several women in the audience nodded, eyes glistening. "But life has a way of pushing you," Harper continued, her voice growing stronger, "especially when you've been standing still for too long." She glanced briefly at Cole, pale, furious, wounded, but she didn't linger. Her story wasn't about him anymore. "I learned something during the hardest months of my life. Something I wish someone had told me sooner." She paused, letting the silence ripple. "You don't find strength by holding on. You find it when you finally let go." Murmurs spread, quiet, emotional, affirming. "I rebuilt myself from the pieces I thought were failures. I turned my pain into work that mattered. And I created a future, not based on what I lost, but on what I could still become." Noah watched her with a look she hadn't expected, admiration deep enough to feel like warmth on her skin. Harper smiled softly. "To every woman who's ever felt small, erased, or underestimated, your story isn't over. You're allowed to rise. You're allowed to outgrow the people who broke you. And you're allowed to be proud when you finally recognize yourself again." The room erupted into applause, loud, emotional, genuine. And for the first time, Harper Lane stood in a spotlight that didn't burn her. It crowned her. Cole Harrington had always imagined that if he ever failed, it would be because of a market crash, a rogue competitor, or some external force big enough to match his ego. He never imagined the end would come slowly, painfully, and undeniably from the consequences of his own choices. The morning after Harper's speech, the headlines were merciless. "Harper Lane stuns gala with empowering speech, crowd erupts in applause." Cole Harrington appears alone, ignored, visibly shaken. Sources confirm Jenna Reeves, providing evidence to authorities. Cole sat in his penthouse, now half empty because staff had resigned and cleaning services halted until invoices were paid. The space that once reflected power now smelled faintly of dust and defeat. He skimmed through messages from his attorney. SEC investigation escalating. Indictments possible. board proceeding with permanent removal. Every notification tightened the vice around his chest. And then came the final blow. A judge approved the seizure of several Harrington assets, including the penthouse he was sitting in pending review of financial misconduct. He had 60 days to vacate, 60 days to lose the life he once flaunted. Cole slammed the notice onto the counter, breath shaking. "This can't be happening," he muttered. "I built everything. I made this city respect me." But the city wasn't listening anymore. Later that afternoon, he tried to access the company building pathetically, hoping the security team would let him through. They didn't. The new interim CEO stepped out, flanked by board members, and shook his head. "You need to go home, Cole," he said. "This isn't your company anymore." "My company?" Cole spat. "I am this company." "No," the CEO replied quietly. "You were the problem." His keycard was taken. Cameras captured the entire moment. Within hours, the clip went viral, millions watching the mighty billionaire escorted from the empire he once ruled. And still, the universe wasn't done teaching him. Jenna's full testimony was released. She revealed everything. His fake client meetings, misuse of funds, hidden accounts, their affair. The brutality of her betrayal mirrored the brutality of his toward Harper. A perfect, painful symmetry. By evening, Cole walked through a freezing Manhattan street, hands shoved into his pockets, paparazzi shadows following him like ghosts. He passed Caldwell Capital's tower, glowing, modern, thriving. Inside, he glimpsed Harper, laughing, surrounded by colleagues, safe, successful, rebuilding a life without him. It hit him with the force of a collapsing empire. She wasn't coming back. He hadn't just lost her. He had destroyed every bridge leading to redemption. Cole Harrington finally understood the lesson he had spent a lifetime avoiding. When you betray a good woman, the universe doesn't just take her away. It takes everything you valued more than her. Spring arrived quietly in New York, softening the edges of a city that once felt too sharp for Harper Lane to survive. But now, as sunlight spilled through the windows of her new studio, Lane Designs, she stood in the middle of the airy, plant-filled space with a peace she had never felt before. Liam played with building blocks near the corner, giggling. And in her arms, swaddled in a rose-patterned blanket, slept her newborn daughter, Avery Joy Lane. The name she chose after deciding her children would carry her legacy, not Cole's. Her life no longer felt borrowed. It felt earned. The studio buzzed softly with energy. Assistants sorted samples. Clients arrived with gratitude instead of demands. A reporter waited in the lobby to interview her about the success of Caldwell Capital's renovation. Harper had become the designer everyone was talking about. Talented, resilient, the woman who rebuilt herself in public without ever raising her voice. That afternoon, Noah arrived holding flowers, soft white peonies, her favorite. He greeted Liam with a gentle high five, then approached Harper with that steady smile she had come to rely on. "You look happy," he said. "I am," she replied, surprised by how true the words felt. "For the first time, I really am." Noah glanced at Avery, sleeping peacefully. She's lucky. She's going to grow up watching her mom build an entire world out of strength. Harper felt emotions swell in her chest. Noah had been her anchor, her friend, her partner in rebuilding. But today felt different, charged with something deeper. He took a breath, nervous for the first time she'd ever seen. "I know your life has changed fast, and I never want to rush anything. But Harper, if you're ready, truly ready, there's something I want to ask." Her heart fluttered. "Noah." He knelt, not grandly, not theatrically, but with sincerity glowing in his eyes. "Marry me," he said softly, "not because you need me, not because of the past, but because of everything beautiful we can build from here." Harper's eyes filled with tears, warm, unbroken tears. "Yes," she whispered, 1,000 times yes. Liam clapped. Avery stirred. Outside, the world felt suddenly bright. Meanwhile, across the city, Cole packed the last box in his tiny Queens apartment. No cameras, no applause, just silence. The consequence of loving himself more than the family he lost. Harper didn't need revenge anymore. Life had delivered it for her. Her final lesson echoed through her heart as Noah kissed her gently. When someone breaks you, let them go. When someone chooses you, let them in. And when life gives you a second chance, take it with both hands. And just like that, our story comes to a close. If you're still here with me, watching and listening until this final moment, then something in Harper's journey must have touched your heart in a way only real pain and real growth can. So let's take a breath together and look at this story not as entertainment, but as a mirror. Life will break us. People will disappoint us. But as Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the impediment to action advances action. The thing that hurts you can become the very thing that lifts you. Harper didn't rise because life got easier. She rose because she decided she deserved better. And so do you. If someone walked out of your life, maybe they were never meant to stay. If someone underestimated you, maybe it's time you stop underestimating yourself. Healing isn't loud, it isn't instant, but it is possible one honest moment at a time. Thank you, truly, for staying until the end. If this story moved you, inspired you, or gave you even a small spark of courage, please like, share, and subscribe so more hearts can find a little strength tonight. You're not alone, my friend, and your comeback story might start today.